am Vladimir Fabe, and today we're going to talk about intents. So, what is intent? An intent provides a facility for performing late runtime binding between the code in different applications. Its most significant use is in the launching of activities, where it can be thought of as a glue between activities. It is basically a passive data structure holding an abstract description of an action to be performed. In short, it facilitates communication between different components. In intents, there are two types of intents: explicit and implicit intents. Explicit intents is what communicates between two activities inside the same application. Implicit intents communicates between two activities but on different applications. The common use of intents are starting an activity, which I will demonstrate later. Next is passing data within the same application or different application. Next is starting a service, an operation that runs on the background, such as Spotify when playing music. Or, yeah. Next is broadcasting messages. An example of this is when your phone has a low battery, the then sends signals or messages the app to the app you're using to notify you that you are on low battery. So let's start with explicit intent. Okay, so first we're gonna make a new project called an empty activity. An empty activity called intent, since it is our topic today. And call it intent, location, and we stick with Kotlin and the minimum SDK API 19. Finish. So generates this, and I'm gonna change this into delete this. Then I'm gonna change this into a linear layout. There. Linear layout. Go with width. Match parent. Height. Match parent. Orientation. Vertical. And I'm gonna close this with a linear layout. So there. And next is, then I'm gonna add a button here, which is wrap content with height. Then I'm gonna call the text here is go to the second activity. I'm gonna put an ID on this. ID go to second button. So that's going to be our ID, and I'm gonna close this with a button. Or I can do this to add a button. I can just drag it here and to automatically encode itself here. See? And I'm just gonna remove that since we already have a button. And then next is we're going to add a new activity, which is our second activity. And we're gonna do that by doing this. And first is we right click this, go to new, activity, and another empty activity. I'm gonna call this second activity. This will generate a layout file. This is the name of the layout file, and I'm not gonna click this since we already have a launcher activity. Again, source language is Kotlin, and then click finish. Still building. There. This is our new activity second, and this is its layout. So at first I'm gonna change this into a linear layout with the width is match parent, height is match parent, orientation is vertical, and I'm gonna close it with a linear layout. Then I'm gonna add a text view to tell us that it is the second activity. This, and I'm gonna add this is the second activity. There, as you can see, oh, it's too small, so I'm gonna add text size equals 40 dp. I'm gonna close this there. So as you can see, it got bigger. Next is going to add the transition between the main activity, this one, to the second activity, and we're going to do that by going first to the main activity. Next thing we do is I'm gonna add the button we made earlier. So go to second button, set on click listener, view on click listener, and here we define the intent. So I'm gonna define intent equals intent, then call this, then we call the second activity class Java. This is the syntax of the intent we're gonna use in the transition. Then we start an activity, then intent. So yeah, it works like this. And next, to prove that it is working, we're gonna run the app. I'm gonna do that by clicking this. So here, click. As you can see, it proceeded to the second activity. So it works. Next is implicit intent. So this time I'm going to give you an example of how to use implicit intent. And remember, implicit intent, it is the intent that communicates beyond the application. So first I'm going to add UI. This I'm going to add a button, an edit text, where the user can input. So I'm gonna set the width to match parent and the layout height to match parent. Wrap content. So, and I'm gonna add hint. Enter website here, and I'm gonna close this with that. Then I'm gonna add a button for the website. Remember, you can add buttons by clicking this design and dragging button here, just like that. So yeah, just do that. Move this. I'm gonna call this button uh, website button. And I forgot one thing. I'm gonna call this edit text. The website edit text. There. So as you can see, we're done for the website. Now I'm gonna add the for the dial pad, same as the website. Match parent, wrap content. Hint is enter phone number here, since it is it will redirect to the dial pad. And I'm gonna add here ID dial pad edit text. Gonna add a new button for the dial pad. Match parent, wrap content. Text is dial. Oh, enter website. And do not forget to add IDs to your buttons that you will use, including edit text. So I'm gonna add dial button. So I'm gonna call it dial button and close it here. So you can see we are done with our UI. Just a simple UI, a basic UI, so that can be. Then we proceed to the second activity. We remove this since we already deleted it. The go to main button. So we're gonna add the functions. Let's go back to the layout of the second activity and add on click. On click, it will open the website function. So we call it the open website, and since this is the website button, and here I'm gonna on click open dial pad. So these are the function names: open website and open dial pad. As you can see, we made the function name, so I'm gonna alt enter and create a function in the second activity, which is here, and including open dial pad. So alt enter, create here. So it created two functions. So we're going to start with open website. So by creating a variable URI, equals URI parse the website edit text to string, text to string. So, and below that we're going to start an activity intent, and it's supposed to be capital, then action view dot URI, comma URI. So there. So by starting the activity, still creating. So yeah, as you can see, this is the explicit intent. Going to click that and here, and let's see if it works. So https google.com. So enter website. So yeah, it works to redirect you to google.com. Next is the open dialpad. Next is open dialpad. So I'm gonna go back to this function and just copy this from the previous function, and we can add it here. And instead of website et, we're going to dialpad edit text, and instead of view, I'm gonna change this to dial, and gonna add this needed. So tell that, then I'm gonna concatenate this into dialpad. So there, we're done, and we can prove that it runs by running the app, waiting. So again, back to the explicit, and here we can type any number we want. So yeah, that, and press dial. So yeah, it will redirect you to the dial pad, and you're one click away from calling that number. So that is all. The summary of today's tutorial, we demonstrated explicit intent by transferring to another activity, and demonstrated implicit intent by redirecting to the browser and the dial pad. And I hope you learned, and thank you for watching. This is Vladimir Fabe.